Autumn had arrived in Los Angeles, bringing with it cooler evenings and shorter days. There was something about this time of year that always made me feel more introspective. The change in season seemed to slow everything down, giving me space to reflect on where Leslie and I stood, and more importantly, where we were headed. I cherished our relationship deeply, but with my Capricorn nature came a tendency to overthink, to analyze every detail with a focus on long-term stability. My reserved nature often made me hesitant to fully express my emotions, leaving me with the quiet worry that perhaps I wasn't showing Leslie how much he truly meant to me. One evening, after a particularly stressful day at work, I found myself sitting in our living room, my thoughts swirling despite the calm surroundings. The soft flicker of candlelight filled the space with a warm glow, and the familiar scent of vanilla wafted through the air. Leslie was nearby, working on his novel, but my mind was far away, lost in a maze of worries about the future. Despite how solid we seemed, I couldn't help but wonder if we were doing enough to keep growing, to make sure that the quiet love we shared would continue to thrive. Leslie, always attuned to my moods, sensed my unease without me having to say a word. It's one of the things I appreciated most about him, his ability to recognize when I was lost in my thoughts and pull me back into the present. Still, as I opened up to him about my worries, I couldn't shake the feeling that perhaps my tendency to be cautious, my more reserved way of expressing love, could one day become a barrier between us. I wasn't the type to wear my heart on my sleeve, to declare my emotions in grand gestures. I showed love in smaller, quieter ways, through thoughtful actions, through support, through loyalty. But I worried that it might not be enough. When Leslie reassured me that my love, though understated, was something he cherished, I felt a sense of relief. But still, a part of me held on to that lingering anxiety. It's the Capricorn in me, the part that always seeks certainty, that wants everything to be planned, secure, and predictable. I needed to know we were both getting what we needed from this relationship and that we were both committed to nurturing it long-term. To address these worries, we came up with a plan, because that's how I deal with uncertainty, by creating structure. We decided to set aside dedicated time each week to talk, to check in with each other on a deeper emotional level. We also made a list of activities that brought us joy, small things we could do together to stay connected, whether it was trying a new recipe or exploring new hiking trails. It felt good to have a plan in place, a way to ensure that we were putting in the effort to grow together, not just coasting along. A few weekends later, we decided to take a day trip to the mountains, hoping that the change of scenery would help us reconnect and clear our minds. As we hiked through the crisp autumn air, the leaves crunching beneath our boots, I found it easier to talk about my fears. Out in the open, surrounded by nature, I felt lighter, like I could breathe more freely. Leslie reminded me, as he always did, that it was okay not to have everything figured out, that we could navigate life together, one step at a time, and that I didn't need to have all the answers right now. His words, though simple, meant everything to me. I had always admired his ability to live in the moment, to take things as they came without overanalyzing every detail. It wasn't how I operated, but I was learning that maybe, just maybe, there was something to be gained from letting go of control now and then. As we descended the trail that day, we made a pact to be more intentional about supporting each other through our individual insecurities. For me, that meant working on expressing my feelings more openly, even when it felt uncomfortable. For Leslie, it meant continuing to communicate his needs clearly and being patient with my cautious nature. It wasn't going to be a perfect process, but we were committed to trying. Back home, we put our plans into action. I found small ways to express my affection more frequently, starting with handwritten notes that felt personal and meaningful. It was easier for me to put my feelings into words on paper than to say them out loud, and Leslie appreciated the thoughtfulness behind each note. We also began a nightly ritual where we shared one thing we appreciated about each other, a simple practice that brought us closer in unexpected ways. One evening, as we sat on the balcony wrapped in blankets, watching the stars blink to life above the city, Leslie reminded me of something I had forgotten. "Iris?" he said, his voice steady. "Our relationship doesn't have to be perfect. It's not about getting everything right all the time. It's about growing together, about understanding each other. And I love you for exactly who you are." Hearing those words, I felt something inside me shift. It was as if all the tension I had been holding on to, all the fears about not being enough or not expressing enough, began to melt away. Leslie didn't need me to be someone I wasn't. He loved me for my quiet passion, my reserved nature, and the way I showed my affection in subtle, meaningful ways. That was enough. More than enough. As the season continued to change, with autumn slowly giving way to the crisp chill of winter, I found myself settling more comfortably into our relationship. Our love wasn't defined by grand gestures or constant excitement. It was rooted in something deeper, something steady. In the quiet moments we shared, in the thoughtfulness we brought to each other's lives, I found a sense of security that eased my worries. In those moments of stillness, I realized that our reserved passion and deep affection were our strengths, not our weaknesses. We didn't need to rush or force anything. We could take our time, grow at our own pace, and trust that what we were building together was strong enough to weather any storm. And in that, I found peace.